Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How's everyone doing tonight? Inshallah, your fast went well today. We are at the halfway mark for Ramadan, mashallah. We're on hadith number 16. That tells us tomorrow will be the 16th fast because we basically started the first night of Ramadan. So we just finished 15 fasts, mashallah. Halfway there. And it's going by fast, mashallah. May Allah make it easy the rest of the way, and may He accept our deeds in this time of quarantine. Although some restrictions were relieved today, but they were really minimal, almost non-existent, to be honest. I think it was some manufacturing plants that could open up again, and then florists, some clothing stores, and sporting goods, but only with curbside pickup. So, not sure how businesses will adjust to that, or if it's even worth for them to stay open in that way. But should be interesting. Hope things get better soon, inshallah. Um, and I'm referring more to the state of California, of course. So today's hadith number 16. Let's jump right into it. As you know, for the Quran recitation, we finished Surah Isra and Surah Al-Kahf. So we finished the half of the Quran and we've started on the second half already. And tomorrow we'll start with Surah Maryam, inshallah. We might read a little more tomorrow, but I'll let you know if we do. But I'm thinking maybe just to read a little more this weekend to catch up with the one juz that we're running behind, inshallah. So today's hadith recorded by Imam Bukhari, very famous hadith, comes in different narrations, and here's one of them. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يسروا ولا تعسروا وسكنوا ولا تنفروا. Make things easy for people and do not make it difficult for them, and make them calm with glad tidings, sakina, tranquility, and do not repulse them, do not scare them away from doing things. Very important hadith. People sometimes forget this, but the Prophet ﷺ even said this. Yes, Siru, make things easy, don't make things difficult. Sometimes one of the biggest reasons for people to stay away from the deen is that we make them difficult. We put obligations on people that in some cases are not even obligations, or we will force them to do things in a certain way when there is leeway to do other things. And this is really a big problem. And it scares a lot of folks away from the deen of Islam. And I'll be very honest, and it's a very controversial subject, but a lot of it sometimes comes from being really focused on one opinion. As you know, in Islam, especially when it comes to jurisprudence, we have various opinions sometimes on one matter from the scholars, and they're all legitimate, but sometimes we get so hooked on one, it's that opinion or the highway. And you don't realize who you are talking to sometimes in terms of the crowd, the people, the background of people, and you end up sometimes making things more difficult on folks by not really understanding their situation. As you know, we have different madhahib in Islam. We have the Hanafi madhab, the Shafi'i, Hanbali, Maliki. But these are all there to make things easier for you. These madhahib were not created to cause a division or titles to people. No, but rather they were made to create ease for people so that they could understand the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, understand even in some cases verses of the Quran, the Sunnah, and so forth. Um, if you were to just pick up a bunch of hadith and try to interpret them on your own, you would have difficulty. So what these madahim do, they have different rules and structures of how things are interpreted, and then from them they issue rulings and they come to conclusions. So these are different schools of thought. They're made to make things easy, and but what some people do sometimes is they get too radical, and they lean towards one school so much that they discredit everything else, and in fact to the point where everything else may not even be valid. And this is a problem. So you can't do that when it comes to jurisprudence. Um, there are other ways people make things difficult too. And it could just be some making things physically difficult on yourself sometimes. Um, one small example here has been given under this hadith by an author here. He mentions that if you have two paths to the masjid, and one of them is difficult, meaning it's a path full of stones and rocks and weeds and thorns and so forth, whereas the second path is wide open, um, take that second path. There's no need to put yourself through difficulty to get to the masjid there. Um, sometimes you think you're performing an act of taqwa by doing that, but you're actually hurting yourself in some cases. The Prophet ﷺ, when he had two choices of things, he would take the easier path. Now, this doesn't mean he would take the path, um, of sin, na'udhu billah, or if there was harm. But if he had two choices between things where there was no harm or sin, he would choose the easier path. Um, let me give you another example, inshallah. There's another hadith by the Prophet ﷺ. He mentions that the people will always be on goodness as long as they hasten to break their fast. And another hadith, and delay their suhoor, meaning all the way to the last minute. Now you might think, wait a second, hastening to break your fast and delaying your suhoor all the way to the last minute, this is something that you're kind of being edgy on, meaning, you're trying to be a minimalist here. No, there is some wisdom here in this. The Prophet ﷺ actually encouraged it. People, they make things difficult on themselves sometimes. I've witnessed it with my own eyes, and it still happens today. For example, you have the time for Maghrib, for iftar. Let's say today was 7:40, whatever the time was. I'm in Fontana, so the time here is 7:40. Might be a minute or two off in Rancho. Let's say 7:40. But you decide, because you are Mr. Taqwa, you are Shaykhul Muslimin, Al-Qadi Mufti, you want to wait till 7:45 because you want to be sure that it's Maghrib time. You know better than all of the scientists and calculations that can project the time of Maghrib throughout the whole year without pretty much any error. So you decide to wait till 7:45. You are making things difficult on yourself, and in this case, you may be even falling into sin. You may be even falling into sin. Why? When the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, sorry, is there a question here? Okay. When the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us to take, when he himself would take the easier path, and he himself, in regards to iftar, by the way, told us to hasten. As soon as the time comes in, don't wait. Break your fast. And when it comes to suhoor, wait all the way till the end. In fact, it's from the sunnah that if you were drinking something or eating something, they were, in your hand literally, and the adhan was made, go ahead and finish. Go ahead and finish. Subhanallah. So look at the ease here. Sometimes I'll hear things in the masjid. Make sure you finish your suhoor 10 minutes before the adhan, 15 minutes, 20 minutes before the adhan. Why? Where are you getting this from? This is creating unnecessary difficulty on people. And this specifically because the Prophet ﷺ clearly mentioned delay it till the last point. And there's wisdom in this. The wisdom is that the closer to sunrise, or to starting your fast, you eat, the more strength you will have for the rest of your day. And of course, the same way for iftar, the earlier you break your fast, the earlier you regain your strength and your energy and so forth. So this is actually a form of ease on the ummah that the Prophet ﷺ encouraged. So no need to, when the time comes in for breaking your fast, break your fast. And when it comes to suhoor, take your time till the last minute if you have to. Nothing wrong with that. Okay. I mean, that doesn't mean wake up like, let's say the adhan for Fajr is, what is it now? Like 4:35. I'm just throwing a number out there. That doesn't mean you wake up at 4:30 and then start cramming food. Give yourself some time too, Yani. But if it happens to go till the end, that's okay. The Prophet ﷺ said they delay their suhoor, you know, till till um, till the last point. So there's nothing wrong with that. There was another story once. Uh, a man was seen standing in the sun. He was just standing in the middle of the sun, right? Remember, this is Saudi Arabia and Mecca or Medina. Not exactly. It's not mentioned where, what city this took place, but either way, these are two very hot cities. And a man was seen just standing in the middle of the sun. And the Prophet saw this man, and he was wondering what's going on. Um, so the companion said, "Oh Rasulullah, this man is fasting, and he made an oath to Allah, meaning he made like an oath saying, oh Allah, if you allow me to do such and such, then I will stand in the sun. Well, I will do this for you." So the Prophet ﷺ, when he heard that, he told the man, do not stand in the sun. Don't do this, because in this is difficulty upon a person and harmful as well. So the messenger of Allah ﷺ said, don't make them difficult. Sometimes we may do something like this. You may make an oath to Allah, or try to make a deal, I guess. Oh Allah, grant me this and I will do this for you. It's not recommended you do that. If you really want something from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it said that go ahead and make the sacrifice first. So a lot of people will do that. They'll say, oh Allah, grant me this and I will make a sacrifice for you. No, make the sacrifice and then ask Allah. Now, in this case, the guy, made a deal to go stand in the sun. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't want this hardship on you. He never asked for it. يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُبَيِّنَ لَكُمْ. Allah desires to make things clear for you. وَيُرِيدُ أَن يُخَفِّفَ عَنْكُمْ. And He desires to make things easy upon you. So don't put yourself in difficult situations. There is another hadith very similar to this too, where another point is very, or another point is made that is very important. The beginning of the hadith starts the same way. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يسروا ولا تعسروا وبشروا ولا تنفروا وتطاوعا ولا تختلفا. The Prophet ﷺ said, make things easy, do not make them difficult. Give glad tidings, bashiru. And here we're learning sakinu, make things calm, relax. In this narration, bashiru, give glad tidings, wala tunafiru. Don't scare people. No need to go and scare people. Everybody, you're going to go to Jahannam if you don't do this. This is not the way to get people to do things. Rather, you encourage them. Inshallah, if you pray in Jama'ah, Allah will multiply your reward by 27 times. Did you know one hasanat, Allah will multiply it by 10 times just because you performed it for His sake? Do something where you encourage others. And then at the end of this, he mentioned something amazing too. He said, وَتَطَاوَعَا, and cooperate with each other and do not become divided. Do not become divided. Some of the things that we make really difficult on ourselves is we don't like working with each other. Na'udhu billah, especially, amongst Muslims sometimes, we want to make things really difficult. We want things our way or it's the highway. And if we don't do it, then we end up dividing ourselves. We make our own groups and it creates hatred. That's what it does at the end of the day, and division. Someone said, we heard this in Sunday school growing up from our Imam. Yes, that's right. This is a very famous hadith, so many of you may have come across it, but we forget the application sometimes. We make things difficult. We don't cooperate with each other. Rather, we make things difficult on each other. Sometimes if someone makes a recommendation, and it may be a good recommendation, we won't do it just because that person said it. I'm not going to do it just because you said it, even though it's good, but I don't want it coming from you. It should come from me. What are you doing? What are you getting out of this? This is not being cooperative. This is being divisive. This is creating divisions. Make things easy. This requires a level of humbleness too, by the way. You got to humble yourself. You got to have some humility, and you got to be able to make things easy. Just be easy going. I look back even at myself when I was younger and more harsh on certain things. Um, I really regret some of the things I did earlier, um, amongst people, telling them to do certain things in a certain way, or else they were not following the correct path of Islam. It's so sad when we do this. It's really important that you try to do things to bring people towards Islam and not scare them away from it. Um, if you talk to many of the scholars here, they will even tell you this, that they may even issue a different ruling for someone depending on the person. SubhanAllah. This is wisdom. This is wisdom, by the way. This is not being a liberal or a progressive. No, no, no. This is from the wisdom of Islam. They see someone who's barely on the edge, and they see him coming in asking about a certain mas'ala. Knowing his situation, they may issue a different ruling, but they'll say, this is for you, not for everyone, but for your situation. And that's really, preaching and acting with knowledge and wisdom. Making things easy on someone, not, for the sake of being liberal, no, but you're taking into consideration their background, their situation, and you're issuing a ruling. Imam Shafi'i, he had a set of standards and rulings in his madhahib. When he went to Egypt, he saw the condition of people and he changed his whole madhab. SubhanAllah. He changed his whole madhab. Did he come and say, no, this is the way or the highway, and if you don't do it this way, you all are going to Jahannam? Or you all are not following the sunnah. You all are misguided. No. He took into account the situation of people, and he just modified some of the rulings of his madhab in order to accommodate and not create a bigger problem amongst people. And this is all within the scope of Islam. And of course, this is the job for the scholars to do those things. But me and you, in our daily lives, we can make things easy on people too. If you see somebody not praying, they're barely praying, they have a hard time praying their fara'id. Why are you going to drill down on them? Make sure you pray your sunnah or don't pray at all. You see this sometimes. You tell someone, okay, let's pray our Asr prayer, Maghrib, Isha, whatever the case may be. But pray your Sunnah before or after. And if you don't, why are you even praying? You basically have taken this person away from the prayer altogether when you do that. If you see someone that is barely hanging on, then just make sure that they're getting at least their obligation. And once they build a love for the Sunnah, they will pray the Sunnah. Or if they see you praying it, while they just simply pray their fard, eventually they'll see that and they'll pray it themselves. We have to really reconsider our approach to things sometimes, especially parents too. I know we all want our kids to be righteous, but we got to use a lot of wisdom when it comes to, enjoining things upon them. Make things calm, easy, with love. The best thing you could do, I'll tell you right now, and you should do, is do things yourself. Anything you want your kids to do it yourself. You want them to pray, make sure you are praying in front of them, call them to prayer with you. You want them to read Quran, make sure you are reading the Quran. I see parents sometimes they want their kids to read the Quran, but they never read it themselves. What do you, what kind of example are you setting here? Um, so do things yourself, and then also when it comes to your approach, use a lot of love. Here, it's a very difficult society, where unfortunately there's not much respect for parents. There's more respect for kids than parents. Na'udhu billah. It should be the other way around. But this is the society we live in, right? It's backwards. Not much respect for parents at all. And you're really handicapped here in the sense where, in regards to what you can do. So you have to use a lot of love, a lot of wisdom when it comes to teaching. Now, kids, you shouldn't take advantage of this and fall into the traps of society either. Um, there's bad influences around you, and you have to be able to recognize that. So, stay in good company and, try to work with your parents as much as possible. Whatever they're asking you to do, they're looking out for the better of you. And if they come across harsh sometimes, they mean better, inshallah. We're reminding them to make things easy or be calm. But, you got to work with your parents. They wish nothing but the best for you. There's a saying, I'll never forget, someone said, there are two people in life that will never be jealous of you. They will never be jealous of you, and those are your mom and dad. Mom and dad will never be jealous of you. People may become jealous, your friends, your colleagues, maybe your boss, maybe even your own siblings sometimes, your own relatives of your success in life. But your parents, they will only be happy with your success. So, always remember that they love you at the end of the day. But, you know, our job is to remind each other, do things with love, and things get done. Remember, the Prophet ﷺ was one who had lots of mercy and love with all his teachings, with his gatherings. He was very loving with everyone around him, and because of that, they were attached to him. They were attached. And you think the Sahaba would be so close to him if all he did was just tell them how bad they were all day and how much they sucked? No, they would not want to be in his company. But rather, he chose an approach of mercy and love, of smiling. Remember the example that we all heard of the man urinating in the masjid. We mentioned this over and over, but really, if this were to happen in the masjid today, this man would get a beat down, right? A person would that's urinating in the masjid would get physically beat down by the musallin. But the Prophet ﷺ did what? When the Sahaba saw him, they were upset too. They were ready to pounce on the guy, but he said, "Wait, let him finish." Not even stop. No, no, no. Let him finish. And then he talked to him. This is not the place where we urinate. You should do it outside and so forth. And look at the approach of the Prophet. He could have scared that man right there, right? Hey, you're gonna go to Jahannam for peeing in the masjid. No, maybe he didn't know, and he didn't. So the Prophet ﷺ taught him. He was obviously someone of ignorance at that time, but the Prophet ﷺ taught him, and He taught him with love. This requires lots of patience. This is where you learn sakinu, right? Do things calmly. We want to act with haste a lot of times and just want to get things done. And that happens to all of us at some point, but you gotta relax sometimes. You gotta relax. Take things easy. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq and the ability to do this. Lots to talk about here, but um, I hope you got the point, inshallah. So hadith number 16, yassiru wa la tu'assiru wa sakkinu wa la tunaffiru. Make things easy for people, do not make it difficult for them, and make them calm, and do not repulse them, do not scare them away. This is recorded by Imam Bukhari. Let's do a recap now of the first 15 hadith real quick, inshallah. This is where you do your review. First hadith, ad-deenun nasiha, the religion is sincerity, recorded by Imam Muslim. Second hadith, ad-du'a mukhul ibadah, supplication is the essence of worship, recorded by Imam Tirmidhi. Hadith number 3, al-mar'u ma'a man ahabba, a person will be with whom he loves, recorded by Imam Bukhari and Muslim. Hadith number 4, hubbuka shay'a yu'mi wa yusim, your love for something might render you blind and deaf, recorded by Imam Abu Dawood. Hadith number 5, al-anatu min Allah wal ajalatu min ash-shaytan. Again, in regards to the hadith we learned today, calmness is from Allah and haste is from shaitan. This act of calmness is really a godly characteristic. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most calm, and he spreads this calmness to his servants, of course to a smaller degree. We can never be at the level that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, na'udhu billah, but we try to emulate his qualities, like of mercy. Allah is the most merciful, so we also try to be merciful. Allah is very calm, we also try to be calm. But haste is from shaitan. Haste is from shaitan, and it's easy to scare people, to scream at people, to curse. This is the easy path. The difficult path is that with calmness, with patience, when it comes to teaching and advising others. This is recorded by Imam At-Tirmidhi. Hadith number 6. Al-haya'u la ya'ti illa bi khayr. Modesty does not bring anything but goodness, recorded by Imam Bukhari. Hadith number 7. At-tuhuru shatrul iman. Purity is half of faith, recorded by Imam Muslim. Hadith number 8. Al-khamru jumma'ul ithm. Alcohol constitutes many sins, recorded by Imam Razin. Hadith number 9. Inna Allah jamilun yuhibbul jamal. Allah is beautiful, he loves beauty, recorded by Imam Muslim. Hadith number 10. La darara wa la dirar. Do not cause harm or return harm, recorded by Ibn Majah. Hadith number 11. Man samata najah. Whoever is silent has been saved, recorded by Imam At-Tirmidhi. Hadith number 12. La taghdab. Do not be angry, recorded by Imam Bukhari. Hadith number 13. Anzilu nasa manazilahum. Treat people according to their status, recorded by Imam Abu Dawood. Hadith number 14. Man lam yashkurin nasa lam yashkurillah. He who does not thank people does not thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rawahu Tirmidhi, recorded by Imam At-Tirmidhi. Hadith number 15 from yesterday. Inna dhulma dhulumatun yawm al-qiyamah. Verily, oppression will be darkness on the day of judgment, recorded by Imam Bukhari. And then today's hadith, hadith number 16. Yassiru wa la tu'assiru wa sakkinu wa la tunaffiru. Make things easy for people, do not make it difficult for them, and make them calm with glad tidings, and do not repulse them or scare them away, recorded by Imam Bukhari. So tonight, as we usually do, we'll end with a new dua, inshallah. And I'm trying to think of one that we did not do already. So I'll think of one that we sometimes hear in our, once again, the witr prayer in Ramadan. Many of you, when you stand in witr in Ramadan and the Imam is making different ad'iyah, different supplications, you wish you knew what they were saying, or you just kind of wanted to know what exactly they were saying so you could find it and then memorize it. So this is the purpose of learning something new here every night. Someone, no problem. So inshallah, tonight's dua, like coming up with this off the top of my head. Subhanallah. Okay, this is a very long one. So I'm going to give you just a shortened version of it. But this is a dua from the witr prayer. And I'm going to send you the whole version, but I'll just do parts of it right now, inshallah. So it starts off something like this. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanallah al-azim. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم إنا نسألك فعل الخيرات وترك المنكرات وحب المساكين وأن تغفرنا وترحمنا وتتوب علينا يا ذا الجلال والإكرام وصل اللهم على نبينا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه والتابعين. I actually decided to change it last minute. Here's another one. Oh Allah, we ask you to basically allow us to do deeds that are of the best. فعل الخيرات, the best of actions. وترك المنكرات, and give up, the worst of actions, or give up bad deeds. Munkar, evil things. وحب المساكين, and we ask you for the love of the poor. This is something important to ask for. You know what happens, unfortunately, when people become too rich? They hate poor people. You see a poor person and you're like, ugh, what is this? Disgusting. But you should always know it is because of the blessings of the poor that we get what we get. We get our sustenance from the blessings of the poor. So never let the love of the poor leave your heart. You should never get to a point where you despise the poor people. No, you should always have a soft place in your heart for them. And when you see them, you always want to help them, even if it's something small. You don't want to even pass by without helping them. وحب المساكين وأن تغفرنا وترحمنا, and that you forgive us, O Allah. We ask you that you forgive us, that you have mercy on us. وترحمنا وتتوب علينا, and that you accept our repentance, or accept our tawbah. And so this is a very beautiful dua. I said it in the plural form. We'll send it to you inshallah shortly on the group in the singular form, so look out for that. The other hadith I was intending to say before this is actually very long, but I will do that inshallah. Maybe we'll do that for the next dua. So today is Friday, so tomorrow we'll do the same dua, and then Sunday we'll do that long one inshallah. It's a beautiful one, and I'm sure you must have heard it, but we'll do that on Sunday inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan. We'll see you all tonight or tomorrow night, 9 p.m. hadith number 17. Jazakumullah khairan. Wassalamu alaikum.